All right, thank you again for joining us today. My name is Melissa and I'm with JMT Consulting. I'm the events manager here. And we have AVIDXCHANGE joining us today to talk about 5 ways to drive growth with AP automation in 2020. I'm just going to go over a few housekeeping tips and then we will get started. If you want to move to the next slide, please. So if you have questions at all during the webinar, there's a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. You can click on that and send us questions. You can also send them through the chat portion and we will answer those at the end of the webinar. We are recording today's webinar. You'll receive a copy of the recording as well as the slides today, so that should hit your inbox this afternoon. And with that, Lance Conrad from AVIDXCHANGE, he's the Director of Business Development, will be joining us today to discuss the webinar, and we are happy to have him. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lance.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Lance Conrad here. Looking forward to speaking with you about accounts payables automation. I'd like to go over the agenda. What we'll be talking about is what we've seen some goals for companies as it relates to organizational improvements in 2020 and what the state of the rapid growth of AP is, and basically talk to you roughly around 5 ways to drive growth with your AP automation, help you with that, and then give you a look at what automation is with AVIDXCHANGE, and we'll finish up with some questions and answers. So here's kind of what we've seen, what top goals, organization goals for 2020 with companies. And do your goals include something like this? You know, reduce the amount of paper invoices, the checks. So we all know that's where a lot of the inefficiencies come from. And with an expanding business, how do you expand your operations without adding headcount? And the third one is really what we've seen is decrease the number of payments made by check, because that's really where another part of costs and inefficiencies come from, not to even mention the chance of fraud. So we're now going to step through kind of how the world is changing through AP automation. And basically, here are the 4 ways that the big things that are changing in AP automation. You know, as companies start to grow, you know, how do they struggle to keep up pace with the administrative costs? As you can see, over $2 billion worth of administration costs are associated with supporting the growth of companies today. B2B commerce, though, is really going digital in payments. And the funny thing is that most AP departments are being left behind because 60% of all B2B payments are still made by check, which is surprising. So here's a nice saying, you know, you can't do today's job with yesterday's methods and be in business tomorrow. You know, what's really paramount is security. And when we talk about checks, when we talk about the inefficiency of checks really leave the door open for fraud. And as you're starting to improve your efficiencies, you start to improve your security when you run most of your payments through digital formats and electronic payments. Plus, the new era of employees that are coming into the workforce today do not want to work with paper. They do not want to be tasked with manual processes. And organizations have to be ready to grow and expand without adding headcount. That means they just have to become more efficient. And also, you've got to be able to be mobile. You've got to have an online ability to see real-time information, and that's what automation will provide. Here's another nice thing. Those who can navigate the transition from manual to modern AP systems are poised to win. And the reason why they're poised to win is we'll show you here. We're going to walk through the 5 ways to automate that automation can drive growth, whether that's with us or with any other system. And the first one is to reduce costs. And I want you to look to the left. And those 3 boxes right there, and all the way down the bottom where it says $22, that's the cost, according to Aberdeen Research, that is associated with paying and processing a bill today. It's with all the manual, all the material costs. And if you look over to the right down at the bottom, it says $10 or less. When you automate, you actually carve out a tremendous amount of labor that's associated with paying your bills as well as material costs. So you can see 60% of costs are reduced. This is a really great slide because it gives you a look at before and after. So I'm going to go over the before, and this is what we're seeing most AP departments, the steps they have to go through. They take in an invoice, they open it, they route it manually, then they have to code it manually and get it to somebody to approve, and then they've got a stack of invoices, maybe 200-300 of these, and you have to now manually enter those into your accounting system. And once they're in the accounting system, now you've got to go in and approve them for payment and send that file to a check writer, which that check writer starts to write out checks to the tune of 300-400 checks. They start to stack up. Now you've got a tremendous amount of paper there. You got to put the check in the envelope. You got to post it. You've got to get somebody to sign it, and they're usually stacked and collecting for days, which is dangerous. On the right, you're going to see the steps now that you continue to do. You still have control to code, approve, and select, but all those manual steps go away. Our process, all those invoices come to us. All those emails that you're getting today come to us. We convert them to one digital format for you now to view electronically in your portal and send through an approval route that you can code, approve, and batch upload to the click of a switch up into your accounting process system. That is a big time saver, big cost saver. And then when you're ready to pay, instead of those payment files going to a check writer, they go back to us, and then we reach out to your vendors. We keep all the banking information. We onboard your vendors, and we ask them, do you want to be paid by check? Do you want to be paid by ACH, or do you want to be paid through VCC, which is a one-time payment into their merchant service account? We do all the work, and the fun thing is, when your vendors call to find out status of payment, they actually call us. So a lot of the steps are removed. You still maintain control. You still maintain view. You can manage everything in one portal. So what's that save you? Saves you about 7 days out of 10 to process an invoice. It reduces the error rate by 50%, which is very costly. And research has shown that it'll save 70% of the controller's time spent on manual tactical functions, which they now can get back to providing cash flow and improving visibility and more important things to the business. So the big question is, why AVIDXCHANGE? Well, why have this? This might be an exaggeration, it might be the exact look you're looking at today. Companies that are dealing with paper today have this type of process, are really kind of in that format. But when you actually remove the paper, the invoices, the checks, the only one thing that you now have is your terminal. And now you can view everything electronically, code and approve and manage everything electronically. So for full service efficiency with AVIDXCHANGE, you still continue to select your payments. You can keep them on hold, you can release them. You have 100% fraud protection. You never have to produce a positive pay file. We do that. You never have to keep supplier bank account information. We maintain all that. And we maintain all the existing banking relationships. And you have full view of real-time payment status at the click of a button and 24 visibility for better cash flow management. So people come to me and they ask all the time, look, there's a lot of automation companies, why is AVIDXCHANGE so different? And we are so different when it comes to what we call the power of the network. We have the largest payment network in the U.S. As a matter of fact, MasterCard uses us as their backbone for their B2B payments hub. And what does it mean to you? Why does that benefit you? Since we have over 500,000 vendors in our payment network, the likelihood of your vendors in our network is very high. So the transition is very easy. And you don't have to transition these vendors. We have over 400 people that will onboard your vendors if they're not a part of our network. So the larger the network, the larger the confidence, the larger the stability, the quicker your vendors are going to get paid. And this is really what we're talking about here. When we talk about vendor enrollment and we talk about leadership, 3X, the e-payment adoption, I want to explain to you why that's super important to you. When we have a large network like this, most of your vendors will now elect to take payment through e-payment. Why is that good? They get payment in 48 hours. They love that. Why is it good for you? You actually, as a company, will receive a rebate from us every time we send a payment to your vendor on our e-payment rails. And the way we can do that is, when we send a payment, we send it through MasterCard's payment. And MasterCard sends us a rebate, and then we share that rebate back to you. And the rebate becomes fairly material at the 500 plus payments a month. You can figure anywhere from $1 to $2 a payment. And you could see close to $1,000 a month back from us, which will greatly subsidize the cost of automating the payment of your AP. So really two big wins there. So when it comes to implementation, we do have your back. And if you're thinking, how long is this going to take to implement? Well, we're going to get you live in 60 days. And in some cases, we'll get you live in 45 days. You have 4 people assigned to your team. We do everything for you. That's another distinguishing factor from us and others, is that we're not online adoption implementation company. You actually have 4 people. You've got an executive sponsor, you've got an integration manager, you've got a training manager, and you've got a project manager, all making sure that your implementation is flawless. And these are really the steps. You know, we'll have a kickoff call the first week, and then we'll do some data review the second week, and then we'll test a batch the third week, and then we'll do some change management planning and some testing, and then we'll do some training, and then we'll do a go live prep, which we go live, but we actually don't go live. And then when everything's working, we pressure test the system, you go live the 7th week. So now how does it all work? Well, once you remove the paper and all the paper comes to us and we digitize everything for you, now all of your invoices will be in your portal. And you will receive an email every day that notifies you you've got invoices to approve. And you go into your portal and you type in your password and click into it, and this is the view that you'll see. You'll see all your invoices now, list format, all ready to be approved. Now you'll see some of these have already got accounting codes already assigned, and we could do that. We'll actually pull down all your chart of accounts, all your GL codes, and we'll align everything the way you see as a workflow, and we'll even default some of those codes to your vendors if you wish, and you can actually change those codes on the fly, and our system will remember those changes. So let's just kind of drill down to one of, let's say, the first one here, and you want to see a larger view of it. You want to see the view of the invoice. This is what you'll see. Now you'll see all the header information on the left, which one of our personnel, a human touch, will audit that information to make sure that's 100% clear. We don't rely on OCR. So there's a little bit of human touch as well as technology. And then you'll see the PDF format to your right. And if everything looks good, then you'll go down on the bottom and you'll see the accounting codes that are assigned. And if you want to change the accounting codes, you can. And if you want to change the distribution, you can. And there's a lot of flexibility built in here, and I don't want to show you too much because what we want to do is get you interested so you'll see a live demonstration after this. So thank you for your time. This has been great. I just want to let you know that if you automate with us or someone else, you're going to benefit. If you do automate with us, the biggest benefit is really the power of the network and our ability to guarantee 100% accuracy on your invoices. Questions?
All right, just a reminder, everyone, if you have questions, you can submit them in the Q&A box down below. We are going to launch a poll, and I do have a few questions coming in, so let me get that started. So first, what happens if we have a new vendor?
Oh, that's easy. When you have a new vendor, the single source of truth is really your accounting software. So when you make that change, we'll have a sync file that will pull that information into your portal at AVIDXCHANGE.
All right. Next we have, do you code the invoices for us?
No, you're completely in charge for coding. I mentioned in the presentation that what we'll do is we'll set up defaults in the beginning if you'd like, or we don't need to put in any defaults. As they come in, you can code them as you come in, and our software will remember those codes, so the next time that invoice comes in through that vendor, those codes will align to that vendor code.
All right. Next we have, what if my vendor supplier doesn't want to get paid electronically?
Oh, that's absolutely fine. We give your vendors the option. As a matter of fact, we've got close to 400 people now supporting the payment network that take inbound calls and also onboard calls. Here's how the process looks. If we don't have your vendor in our network, what we will do is we will pay them by check the first time, just to make sure that the payment gets out. And then we'll follow up with that vendor to ask them if they'd rather continue receiving checks or would they like to receive a virtual credit card payment into their merchant service account. Or would you like to have a direct deposit, which is much like an ACH. Just to let everybody on the webinar know, checks are absolutely free for the vendor. There is a cost to the customer. The cost is real nominal. You'll be surprised. But if the vendor wants to take a payment through VCC, we do not impose a cost to the vendor. They're already getting a fee charged to them through their bank, through their merchant service account. So there's two ways we can pay them without us imposing any costs. If they want a direct deposit, there is a small cost associated with it. Really only 5% of our vendors choose that route. But short answer to a long answer, they do not need to take an electronic payment if they so choose.
Wonderful. And I have two more questions so far for you. Is the virtual card like a credit card?
It is, but it's a one-time 16-digit money transfer. and it does not come out of your customer's credit card account. It actually comes out of our merchant service rails, and we just send a one-time 16-digit payment to your vendor, and once they accept it, that's when the credit card process stops.
Got it. Last question I have so far is, how do my vendors, suppliers check the status of their payment? Will they call your service?
Oh, that's great. There's two ways they can check. They can just completely call us. There's an 800 number on all of our readmittance. Or they can go into their own portal, and we will, once they become on board into our vendor network, we actually give them a link to their portal, and they can now see the status of their invoices and payments.
Wonderful. Those are all the questions I have so far. So, Lance, we'll give it about a minute to see if anything else comes in, and if not, we'll let everybody go about their day. Just a reminder, this is being recorded, so we will share a copy of the recording and the slides with you. You should receive that this afternoon. So it doesn't look like any more questions are coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and thank you, Lance, from AVIDXCHANGE, for hosting the webinar for us. We appreciate it. And for a list of more webinars and events that JMT hosts, you can go to jmtconsulting.com and click on our Events tab. And with that, I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.